All right. You just heard the most amazing, amazing intro here, but I want to even deep dive into it more with Cedric. Thank you for joining me today. It's really an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's definitely a blessing to be here. It really is.
Yes, yes. And your
Okay.
story is so heartful because, the your book that you're going to write, right from the woods to the hood to the good. That's that's so
Yes,
hot.
that's
That
it.
that's hot to trot. And the story of, you know, the Floyd Mayweather and the boxing gyms and your heart. And maybe you could tell that a lot better than me reading it because it's so inspiring what got you
Okay. Well, yeah,
started.
I'll definitely do that. I'm a simple guy, I'm from the backwoods of what I call Minden, Louisiana. So I'm an old country boy. Moved to Dallas at a very young age as a child. And, I've been pretty much blessed for my journey has been when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. At 17, there was a company in Dallas called TI, Texas Instruments. They gave me a salary when I was 17 years old, my 11th grade year of $55,000.
What?
And they paid for all my education.
Oh my
I
gosh.
had to work, full time. They taught me how to build missiles that was used in the Persian Gulf War. So
Wow.
at 17 years old, working in the corporate America, I gave them 8 years of my life. They paid for all my education, but I wanted more. So I decided to quit my job with good benefits and all that kind of great stuff. My parents had been out at TI for over 30 years, but they thought something was truly wrong with this boy,
Right,
to decide
right.
to quit that great job. So, but anyway, I became an entrepreneur, got into the insurance industry, did quite well with that. That led me to the mortgage industry, did quite well with that. But there was this issue. People could not afford to, buy insurance. They couldn't afford to start investments and annuities. And I wondered why. But I looked at this thing that everybody had in common, and it was either rent or mortgage.
Mm.
Then I got educated about a mortgage, and that led me into the mortgage business to start refinancing individuals and showing them how they can free money up that they could invest. But as I realized how so easy it was to get money for people, I decided to get some myself, and that led me into the investment business. And I started to buy, fix, and flip homes. Did quite well with the real estate business. I bought every course that was on that existed, but none of the courses worked. So I had to take all the money I invested in build, and I just put all the courses together and created my own course. And I was quite successful with that. And that led me to becoming a developer. And I actually built about 100 homes in a 3-year time span from 2006 through 2009 in a development with acre lots, 5 to 10,000 square foot homes. I did 100 homes in about 3 years.
Mm.
So that was a lot of building. I was also the mortgage broker. So it was a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
But, I learned a lot. And then we ran into the crash,
Mm.
okay, of 2009. I retired a few years and I said, something seems to be broken with the system. And after retiring for a few years, and I decided to get moving again, I got led to the estate planning side of life. You got two types of estate plans. You got an estate plan that can make you rich. There's another estate plan that can make you wealthy. And I really got interested in wealth building and having income producing assets and not working for money anymore and being educated on how money could work for you. I really didn't understand how money worked when it works for you,
Mm.
the freedom that it gives you. And
Right.
one thing I learned about freedom is that your time is the greatest asset out of all the assets that we have because we don't know how much time we have left. Okay. So the value is not in real estate. It's not in cars. It's not in cryptocurrency. It's not in things. It's in life
Amen. Mm.
and the time we get to spend with our families, man.
That's it.
And when you get to that point, I think you start living free. There's nothing like freedom.
Right.
It's one thing to be in bondage and you don't know you're in bondage and you think you're free. But when you finally get true freedom and your time is yours to do what your talents, skills, and gifts have allowed you to do, oh my God, life
Right.
goes to another level, you
That's
know?
right. Yeah.
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 But anyway, as my journey went on, just get to kind of sum it up for you. I did get introduced to an estate planning company. And as I did that, and I got this thing called a trust, a family trust. And what that did, it changed my mindset to determine that I needed to create assets. And the first asset I decided to create was the Mayweather Boxing and Fitness Gym franchise. Now, I don't know anything about working out in the gym, I don't know anything about, training and boxing and so. But one thing I did learn some about was my heart.
Mm,
See, my heart was on 10% fraction rate in 2018.
mm,
That means I was dying of heart failure. That means when you hit 10%, there's nothing that the doctors can do for you anymore. Okay. But one thing I had to learn about health, my health was my wealth. And
mm.
I learned that, I had some wisdom teeth in my mouth and they were hurting me real bad. I couldn't bear it. So I went to the dentist after being diagnosed with heart failure, got those teeth extracted. My heart rate came back to 55%. They say the mouth is a powerful tool. You can say things that can make a difference. You can also take in things that can make a difference in your body. So until you learn how powerful your mouth is and anything that's close to your heart, and your brain, it's kind of like your heart feels and your brain thinks, but the mouth is right here in the middle of it all. But once I got that fixed, everything else got fixed. So I had double grace at 55. My heart rate came back. And then I decided to go for the gusto. I said, you mean I can live? Then I went from the Mayweather boxing and fitness gym. Then it got me to the restaurant business, healthier eating. Ended up creating a place called the Turkey Leg King. And it's doing quite well. And then decided to take it another level. I got introduced to 5-star dining, wealthy people. And I needed a place that I can bring my clients to. And I said, well, I think it'd be a great investment if I were to be able to control my own restaurant. So then we created the Hillside Prime Steak and Seafood Restaurant. We did all that in less than a year. So I've gotten a lot of attention, from the news media, really making a difference in the community. And I just like to see people come together and have a good time. And there's no prayer life like the prayer life of an entrepreneur. Believe me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's what got me
Mhm.
here, and that's who I am. And and I love to tell that story because it can be encouraging. My pastor, Bishop T.D. Jakes, we had this business forum we was talking at about 3 weeks ago, and they asked me to speak and tell my story. And I did that, and he came to me. He said, now we teach people about entrepreneurship, but the only thing that we left out that this young man has, he said, was courage. He said it took courage to go into a business that you don't know anything about. But,
Mm,
a lot of times we have a plan, but then there's another plan set aside for us.
right.
And if we can trust our creator, believe me, you can go into what you're called to do. And then, it's so much easier versus doing something that you're not called to do. You may do what you want to do, but that may not be what you're really called to do. It may not
That's
be what
right.
you're gifted and talented to do. So,
Mhm.
that's my story. And that's what
Mhm.
got me here today. So now I'm that living, I guess you can say, instrument of of what I call it my ministry when I start talking
Mhm.
about the trust business.
Right.
Because,
Right. I get
uh,
it.
yeah,
Mhm. I
you
get it.
know,
Yeah.
so man, I'm trying to tell
Yeah.
you, it gets deep. It gets
You
deeper,
Mhm. Yeah, right. It keeps
Yeah.
getting deeper. And brother, boy,
Yeah.
you are the living prayer. That is prayer in action. And I thought I had a lot going on. I was busy and I just listened to you and I go, okay, don't be saying here, God, don't be saying you're so busy because you're really
Yeah.
not. And that
Yeah.
is so inspiring to me. And
Mm-hmm.
then, that's why I have you on. And, I've been talking about family, revocable living trusts. We've made over 6,000, never had a problem. When I
Gotcha.
first started in the 90s, no one even knew about it. And
That's right. They
they've been
still don't
around.
know about it. They
And
still
still,
don't know about
that's why I'm
it.
broadcasting, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
they,
right.
and in California, where I'm at, communist California, they didn't want us to talk about it. And they kept trying
Yeah,
to. But pretty
right.
soon all the paralegals revolted and became independent. So
Yeah,
I'm, LDA. But
got you.
it's such an important conversation. And part of, I do the revocable. And what I think is really important is the whole structure where you have your trust, and then you have your business trust, and then you have your give back trust. And so
Right.
I'm into living the legacy now, not just write a check when you die, but you live the legacy, right? We be the
That's
living
right.
legacy. And
Hey, that's a beautiful thing when you can live it. A
yeah,
lot of times, we look out for our children's children, but sometimes I want to look at my children's children. So we have to be here to do that, to be able to enjoy that view and be able to
that's
spend
right.
that time. So
Yeah.
yeah, but that trust puts you in a mindset to do so. Trust
Hmm.
has been around since like the 1800s, and trust were basically here before LLC, C corps, and S corp.
That's right.
You know,
They
and
go all the way back to
yeah,
the Middle Ages, really. The kings and
yes, it really does.
and same with annuities,
That's
same
right.
kind of thing. Those things have all,
Right.
but nobody knows about them because the information is kept so the little people, the little sheepy, stay in the box. But
Yeah,
what,
that's true.
right, right?
Well, they tell
It's,
us that trusts are for wealthy individuals, and I had to
mm,
find out that that was not true. I
right.
mean, a trust is like a foundation of a house. It's a
Hmm.
foundation to actually put you in a position to build wealth.
That's right.
And yeah, and the Constitution gives you your right to
Hmm.
create a private contract to manage
Right.
assets for one or more beneficiaries. But how many people do you know have a copy of the Constitution at home? Not many.
Not
So,
many,
so
and they're
therefore,
and
we
they're
really don't
burning them
know.
now.
There you
Right.
go. So we really don't know our
Right.
rights. But
Right.
that Constitution give you the right to create a trust.
That's
And there's
right.
all type of trust out there in the world today. And in 1976, most attorneys they practice what you call, well, all attorneys practice statutory law.
Right.
But before there was statutory law, there was common law, and common law
Hmm.
still exists today. That's how you say our kings and our queens, they live
Yeah.
through trust. Basically they control everything, but they don't
Hmm.
own anything.
Right.
Nelson Rockefeller once said, a lot of people don't know who he is. He was appointed vice president of the United States of America under President Ford. And he said that the secrets to wealth was to control everything, but don't own anything. Now, I
Mm.
think that goes against everything that we've been taught through our 12 years of education, and our continuing education through college and our parents and so on.
Right.
So what does that really mean? To control everything, but don't own anything. And that would be the secret to wealth. Well, as I did my research, I found out that, well, number one, a trust is a private contract to manage assets for one or more beneficiaries. And then you have revocable trust, and then you have irrevocable trust.
Right.
And it just depends on your circumstance and situation that's going to determine which one you need. Now, one thing I love about the irrevocable trust, though, it has its own EIN number. It files its own tax return, and it has its
Hmm.
own IRS tax codes. That's different than an LLC, a C corp, or S corp, and that's totally different than an individual's tax codes. That we have to follow. You got the 600 and 700 codes of the Internal Revenue Code
Right.
handbook. But once again, how many people do you know have a copy of the IRS code handbook?
What is it? 23,000 pages or 54,000 pages? Right.
Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
always changing every
Yeah.
year. Okay.
Every year. Right.
So, but once again, the Constitution gives you your right to do a private contract, and the IRS code can actually give you some benefits based on the type of trust that you may have. Because some trusts actually have the tax code interwoven into it. And with that, you may have an opportunity where you can defer taxes and use that money to continue to grow wealth. You may be in a position that you can avoid estate taxes as you avoid probate. That's what a trust
Right.
will do for you, man. There's nothing like going through a probate. It can
Oh,
tear a
no.
family to pieces. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's
And
bad.
and I did a lot of research and study. I've studied people like James Brown, the king of soul, Aretha
Hmm.
Franklin, the queen of soul,
Yeah.
Prince, Michael Jackson, the king of
Mm.
pop, Elvis Presley. But one thing they all had in common,
That's right.
not one of them had a will nor a trust.
That's right.
And the
Mm.
estates had to go through probate. The IRS ended up taking, so it was almost impossible to leave an inheritance to their children's children.
Yeah.
They actually end up leaving a lot of chaos. But then I took it a step further. I started to study our senators and our congressmen and our presidents. Did you know that Senator John McCain, at his time of death, he was controlling over $400 million of assets?
Mm.
Did you know that he had a trust that actually owned an LLC that was part of the Anheuser-Busch Corporation? Then I looked
Mm.
at Bob Dole. He ran for president once. He didn't quite make it, but I found out he was worth over $400 million also at his time of death. And you know what? And then there's one last guy. He was a fighter. His name was Colin Powell, from the first
Mm.
general of the United States Army. Over $60 million is what he was controlling at his time of
Wow.
death. Now, did any of these guys own anything? No. But
Mm.
were they controlling something? Absolutely. I look at our former President Trump. He's
Mm.
controlling. He's over $3 billion worth of assets. Can you imagine three with a billion?
B
That
with a
is
B. Right.
okay. So, and I look at do presidents go through lawsuits? Absolutely.
Hello. Yeah.
But are they worried about losing their assets? Absolutely not.
No.
You know, they
Mhm.
seem to know a little bit some about taxes that we don't know. They don't
Right.
seem to pay taxes. They have to see these tools that they use with the IRS code that legally puts them in a position to minimize taxes legally. But those trusts can be utilized to help you do just that. you know.
Well,
And,
yeah.
and man, I get so excited because, I look at the new laws that are being
Yeah.
created. I tell people, a lot of folks like to watch the Cowboys. We're talking about the Rangers right about now.
Mhm.
We like to go on vacations, but then in this world of chaos and war right now, there's laws that are being changed for us entrepreneurs, us business owners in the United States of America. And
Yeah.
most people don't know about one
That's
important
right.
law that goes into effect January the 1st. What is that law? Most people don't know. Well, it's called the Corporate Transparency Act. Most people don't know what that is.
Mm.
Well, what is that? When I tell people, I'm glad you asked. That means now that the United States Treasury, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Unit, has passed a law where anyone with an LLC, a C Corp, or a S Corp, starting January the 1st, must participate and put their information to this financial crimes database.
Mm.
Why do I need to be on a financial crimes database?
What?
Well, the United States is trying to eliminate money laundering,
Mm.
drug and human trafficking, tax evasion, and also loan fraud.
Mm.
So the days of doing Nevada corporations, Wyoming corporations, all that's over.
Oh.
With this law, they want a copy of your government issued ID, your passport or your driver's license with your correct address. They want a mug. They want, I ain't gonna say a mug shot, but they want a picture of you from the waist up. Okay. They want to know who
Wow.
you are. They want to know your personal address.
Yeah.
They want to know who's running your company. If you have a COO or a CFO, and they want their credentials also. They
Mm.
want to know, who did you go through? Who actually set your company up? Because they want their credentials also. And they're giving us 12 months, people, starting January the 1st, to get into this database.
Mm.
And that's about 36 million small businesses in the United States. And if you don't get on this database within that 12-month period, you know what's going to happen?
Mm.
They can fine you anywhere from $500 to $1,500 per day, up to
Oh
$10,000. And
man.
then they will automatically turn you into a criminal. Now you will get your first volunteer felony and can serve up to 2 years in prison.
What
That's
in
how serious the government has gotten now. You say, well, why is this happening? Well, they also changed the law for anyone that took out a PPP or EIDL loan. They have 10 years now to come prosecute you. All right. They changed the statute of limitations. And as we're speaking, they're prosecuting individuals all across the United States right now. There's a task force out that's doing just that. Now, what are they going to do with this financial crimes database? Well, your local police department now will have access to you and your business. The FBI will have that access also. And no, let's not forget about the IRS. Okay. So now they can actually go after people that they feel didn't go back to work after the pandemic, because most people, a lot of them started a business. So now the government can collect more tax dollars. Okay. Now, if you want to start a business, people, don't wait till January the 1st. If you do that, you have 30 days to comply with the Corporate Transparency Act.
Wow.
That's going to also require us to have to go back and change all of our operating agreements to include language about the Corporate Transparency Act. So if you have an investor that's going to invest with your company, they need their credentials. If you have a new COO or CFO, they need their credentials. They didn't know anybody that's benefiting from this business now in one database, so they can hit one button now and find everything out that they need to know to stop all the bad things that they say are going on in the United States when it comes to business. Now, there are some exemptions, though. Okay.
Okay.
And I get excited about, when you say, well, do I qualify to be exempt? Well, do you? I mean, are you a bank? Well, if you are, you exempt. Are you an insurance company? Well, if you are an insurance company, you'll be exempt also.
Oh my gosh.
Are you registered with the SEC? Well, if you're registered with the FCC, SEC, you will be exempt. What about if I'm a nonprofit corporation? You will be exempt. But what other thing can exempt me? Well, I found out that if your business is owned by a irrevocable trust, you will be exempt.
Right.
I said, well, I scratched my head. I said, well, lawmakers, I guess they have irrevocable trust, so they're not going to make a law that's going to affect them, but they make laws that affect us.
That's right.
So, but that trust could exempt you from having to give that type of information. And therefore, you can still maintain your freedom because, see, a trust is a private agreement. It's not an LLC, a C Corp, or S Corp, and it's not you. And therefore, once again, most judges don't have jurisdiction to private agreements, okay, unless there's fraud behind it. But other than that, it's a private agreement.
Right,
So
right.
you have the right to exercise your privacy. So, but yes, that's going to be a big major situation with the Corporate Transparency Act. So one good thing about the trust, though, it can free you from that. But if everything's on the up and up, you just have to give them that information, and you're just going to be in that database.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, but the trust, man, it saves you not only with that, it puts you in a position to avoid probate. It puts you in a position to become lawsuit proof and judgment proof. It gives you privacy. You eliminate estate taxes. You can defer income taxes and use that money to grow wealth. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just so many benefits. I don't know no other system or no other way. And then they got this thing I call a business trust. I never knew about a business trust. I
Yeah,
knew
tell me
about a
about that business trust.
man.
Want to know about that.
I get
Okay,
excited. Yeah,
go
I get
for it.
excited.
Yeah, no, I
You
see it. I
know,
get it. I'm the same way.
they've talked about an LLC. That started to me supposed to be a limited liability
Really,
company. And every
right.
time I've had an
Mhm.
LLC, somehow I end up in a large lawsuit coming. That's the new
Law
definition.
large
Large
coming.
lawsuit coming. Okay.
LLC.
All right. And then you got your C Corps and your S
Yeah.
Corps. But
Yeah.
then they never told me about a thing called a business trust. A
Yeah.
trust can do business just like an LLC, C Corp, or S Corp. But the great thing about it is not a part of the Secretary of State. And you don't need
Ooh.
Secretary of State approval. All right. You actually get
Whoa.
an EIN number from the IRS, and you can do business in all 50 states. You're limited when you have an LLC. You can only do
Mhm.
business in the state you're approved in unless you file as a foreign corporation. But
Right.
this now is one way. I don't have to report to the Secretary of State. I don't have to do any quality tax returns. I can do business in all 50 states and outside the United States. And basically, I don't have to worry about a name check or anything like that, like you do with LLC, C Corps, and S Corps. And I'm not controlled by state. And that's huge. And the
Mm.
business trust will be owned by the family trust. So that's
There
huge.
you go. There
All
you
right.
go.
And the
Yeah.
family trust becomes the beneficiary of the business trust.
Okay.
So that's exciting.
Oh,
Now,
that
some of
is.
us have another type of business called a nonprofit corporation.
Right.
But I studied people like Bill and Melinda Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Clinton Foundation, the
Mhm.
Trump Foundation, the Kennedy Foundation, the Carter Foundation, the Zig Ziglar Foundation. I said, what's up with these foundations?
Yeah.
Well, I found out that they were trusts, and they were not nonprofit corporations. They were not controlled by the Secretary of State. Therefore, you don't have to have a board that can vote you off. You don't have to worry about all the filings that you have to do when you're in a state vehicle versus being in a trust. You're the trustee. You can
Mm.
have a board of trustees. You can do business in all 50 states once again. It can own property just like a nonprofit. Don't have to pay property taxes. So I just found a new way to live. I live through a family trust, a business trust, and also a charitable foundation trust. God, the Bible says more blessed to give than it is to receive.
That's
You know,
right. Right,
but
right,
but
right.
but hey, but that foundation can help you. It helped Donald Trump. As he was the president, he actually
Mhm.
donated 100% of his gross income to a charitable foundation. And
Right.
I'm sure it was one that he didn't create, but I'm sure it's one that he probably controlled.
Right.
They say all you have to give is 5% toward the cause. The rest can be actually utilized for expenses and so on. So, but once again, that was a tip to minimize, alleviate the payment of income taxes legally.
Mm.
Okay. So it can work for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, man, I got excited learning about the three trusts that exist. And that's how I live my life. I don't own anything.
Mm.
The family trust owns everything. The business trust manages the LLCs did you know a trust could own an LLC? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
A trust
Yeah.
can actually own, shares of a C Corp or S Corp. All
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
So, a trust is very powerful too.
So, okay,
Okay.
so I'm real interested in the charitable faith-based trust. So it does this you do you have to have like say I we have a nonprofit that we use for legacy shifters called Shifting Legacies. But
Gotcha.
we've it's still in the development of where we're going with it. So
Mhm.
would the trust you'd have to have a special trust over that, or is the charitable faith based trust a separate entity and you just forget that nonprofit or I don't know.
Well, what it does, okay, as I told you, you have a family trust that replaces you as an individual. You have a business
Yeah.
trust that can take the place of a business, and you have a charitable foundation trust that can take place of a nonprofit corporation. Now, you as an individual, you normally would be the one to create an LLC, C Corp, or S Corp, or you'd be the one to create a nonprofit. Now the family trust is the one that creates the business trust or the foundation. Okay. So now you're dealing with three trusts. Okay. These trusts are under common law, not statutory law, means no judge has jurisdiction.
Hmm.
Therefore, you have all the power to make all decisions, and the buck stops with you. Okay. Now, the IRS code, though, applies to each trust. But when you look at the charitable foundation trust, you get the same exemptions that a nonprofit corporation would get from the state. Now, you may have to register that trust with the state if you want to get an exemption of property taxes, because it can own property and it's exempt from paying property taxes. And it can take donations from individuals and your friends as you give different functions for certain causes. Okay. But the charitable foundation trust normally has a second beneficiary, like at a split type of beneficiary situation, where you have to go support 5% at least to a faith-based or educational cause, but the rest can actually go to another beneficiary called the family trust.
Oh,
Okay.
that's great.
So
Yeah,
that's huge.
that is huge.
So it's quite flexible, the ability that you have when you get the wisdom and the knowledge of actually how you can utilize trust over an LLC, C Corp, S Corp, or even over you. See, the trust files a 1041 tax return. Okay. And the IRS, has made provisions for a trust to be able to file a tax return. Now, revocable trusts normally don't have a EIN number, so it don't file a tax return. You still use your social, because you can move property inside the revocable trust and you can take your same property back out of the revocable trust. Unlike with a irrevocable trust, once you gift endow property into that trust, you can never own that property again. Now, do you get to control it? Absolutely. Do you get to enjoy it? Absolutely. But once again, it's there for you to manage, and you're not to own it. Now, do trust make you lawsuit proof? I had a lot of clients ask me that question. Well, it depends on what type of trust it is. An irrevocable trust, if it's a common law trust where no judge has jurisdiction, that means you lawsuit proof. You can't sue a private agreement. I've attempted to sue a private agreement before, and that's how I found that out. Okay. But the only way you can sue one, you have to prove it was fraudulently conveyed. Some assets went into it fraudulently, or the person that created may owe some restitution or something like that, and they're trying to hide behind a trust. Well, you can't really do that. So that's called fraudulent conveyance. So that's the only way a judge would actually have jurisdiction. Does a trust work in a divorce? Absolutely. I just happened to go through one of those also.
Ouch.
And those assets could not be bought into a divorce because they weren't my assets and they were not her assets. Those assets were there for the beneficiaries, and therefore they're not community property, and therefore could not be considered as so
Yeah.
that was a blessing to keep
That's
the
a blessing. Yeah.
together,
Right.
So, I mean, these are just exciting things that you need to know that most people don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what, I do here at a Trust Up, we call it Trust Up because everything I have, I've trusted it up to, God. I'm a very spiritual person, where, God said in the beginning, he created all of this stuff.
Right.
And he said the world was mine, the fullness thereof. And
Yeah.
to me, that means that, well, God, if it's yours, there's no way it can be mine. But what he did tell me, though, he said, I need you to become a good steward.
There you go.
He did tell me that you should owe no man, that the borrower become the servant to the lender.
Mm-hmm.
He also told me that you need to leave an inheritance to your children's children. I said, why would I skip my children and go to my children's children? He said, because you spoiled your children and they are probably not going to be able to do for their kids what you were able to do for them. So I'm putting that burden on you now.
There you go.
Now, I do that with the trust, and that's how I'm being obedient. That's kind of like my roadmap to what the word of God says.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
man, that's great. Hey, tell everybody how to get in contact with you and tell them, all the things, your touch points there.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be glad to do that. I'm located in Dallas, Texas here at 8330 LBJ Freeway, Suite 550. That's Dallas, Texas, 75243. And, I'm right across the street from that company that hired me when I was 17. So I look at it every day. T.I. said, you gave me the star, but look at me now.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can also go to contact at trustupcommunity.com.
Okay.
That's contact at trustupcommunity.com. And you can also go to www.trustup.biz.
All
That's
right.
www.trustup.biz. I got some videos in there called News You Can Trust. And
Oh,
you go
yeah.
watch those videos and they teach you a lot about situations and why you need to trust and how the trust can actually help you. So, man, and it
That's
also tells
good.
you about the Corporate Transparency Act law also. But
Oh,
you can
yeah.
Google Corporate Transparency Act and get that information. But yes, we do Zoom calls every Monday, to give our new presentation to new people. And you know what? We tell you what to do, we show you what to do, and we do it with you till you learn how. Because see, trust is going to be fairly new to you because most people don't know that the most wealthiest people in the world became wealthy by utilizing the trust. Because it seems
Right.
like the more you make, the more the government takes. All right. We got 37% tax bracket. That's a lot. Hey, you make $400,000-$500,000, you're talking about
Mhm.
37% off the
Right.
top.
Right.
And we ain't talking about Social Security. We ain't talking about, the cost of living and so on.
Yeah.
So what do you really make versus how much they are really going to take?
That's right.
So you
That's
can
right.
minimize that with the trust, and
Yeah.
that's what it really would do for you. So that's a blessing in disguise
Yeah.
that you really get educated about and take advantage of. So we teach you how to move assets into the trust. How do you do that? Most people ask. Well, if it's real estate, you use warranty deeds that's approved for your particular state. And we show you how to access that through like lawdepot.com, and you can actually get those forms. All right. So that's how you move real estate. Not a quick claim deed, but a warranty deed. That's a big difference. Okay. Well, how do you move a business to a trust? Well, if it's an LLC, you do a business buy sale agreement. If it's a C Corp or S Corp, you do a share purchase agreement. Well, can a trust own an insurance policy? Absolutely. All right. So you actually do a policy change form, and then the trust become the owner and the beneficiary. All right. Can a trust own an automobile? You better believe it. You wanted to own that automobile because that automobile is in an accident. They can sue the insurance company, but can they sue a trust? No, that's just a private agreement. Well, do they want to sue the driver? Well, for drivers like me, I don't have anything, and you can't get anything. So people don't sue people that don't have anything.
Mm.
Do it look like I have things? Absolutely. But looks can be deceiving. Okay. so so therefore, it's all about a strategy. We
Right.
also have a tax strategist that we set you up with. So you can come up with a tax strategy now and understand the IRS codes that's going to apply to your trust versus your LLC and you personally. So we want to be as transparent with the IRS. We want to file every tax return. And we want to show that you made money. Most time we file a tax return and we try to show that we didn't make no money. So we don't have to pay no taxes that could get us in an audit. So we want to reverse that now. That don't make any sense. You work hard all year long. April 15th comes, you're trying to say you didn't make no money. So you don't have to pay no taxes.
Mm.
That's kind of being insane, doing the
Yeah,
same
kind of.
thing, expecting something to change. You can't get
Exactly.
wealthy that way. So you got to get yourself free
That's
where you
right.
can be true and tell the truth. The
Right.
truth is the only thing gonna set us free. And that's what we
Right.
give you here with Trust Up.
That's
So,
right.
so we get excited, man. We do advanced trustee calls. You are
Mhm.
able to reach us during business hours here. If you have questions, and then we have this ambassadors program. There's no way I can get to 36 million small businesses across the United States to help them get in compliant in January with the Corporate Transparency Act law. So who would be the best candidate? People such as you and I that are already trusted up. So we have an ambassadors program that we have that could really be quite lucrative to you as you educate others once you've been educated about the trust and how it works and the benefit.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow, that's hot to trot. That's great.
Oh
It,
yeah.
and is there one thing in particular that you're really excited about right now that you're working on that's kind of like you haven't told
Mhm.
anybody about or you're just working on?
Well, right now, the biggest thing to me is the system that we have and what I do. I focus now on going after very influential customers. Les Brown, for instance. Most people know Les Brown. I called him up one day. I said, Les Brown. I said, what's going down? I'm Cedric Brown. We're not related. And that was during the COVID. He said, I don't know you, young man. I said, you know what, Les Brown, I don't know you, but I know you. I said,
Right.
I read that you have 10 children. He said, yes, I do. I said, also, understand, Les, that you owe the IRS. He said, how did you know? I said, well, anybody of your stature that made the kind of money you made, you're gonna have a problem. I said, but you know what? If you trust up, I can help you. He decided to come to Dallas, and I do a conference once a year where I bring all my customers together. And he brought his son and he brought his grandson. And he learned about Trusted Up and how you do generational wealth and became a client of ours and really made a difference. Then I reached out to this guy named Tim Brown. He was a Hall of Famer, Heisman Trophy winner, you know. So he came also. So man, we had a great time that year. It was called Come Meet the Browns because we had it going down. And you know what? We got a lot of people trusted up and got them educated and gave a lot of testimonies. We had a lot of people that did their tax returns, showed how they was able to defer taxes. I mean, it was a great deal. It just blew everybody away. So what I'm trying to do now is my project now is to work on influential individuals. You know, a lot of times, you know, we have actors and athletes, and they have attorneys, and I don't see anything wrong with an attorney. But do you think your attorney wants you to be lawsuit proof and judgment proof?
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
because if you are, you know, he can't charge you $300 to $500 an hour to practice law. So therefore, you know, you lawsuit proof, judgment proof. You don't have to go through probate, so there's no will to probate. You know, I tell people the will is just a ticket to get you in the court.
That's it.
Okay.
Right. That's
So
it.
those kind of things are the projects that I'm really working on to get to educate people and to get more people acclimated to understanding the business of trust. Most people that are influential, we very public individuals, but we have a very private financial philosophy. So people don't really know how we're made up. And you
Mhm.
know, but it's time to change that, especially in the world that we're in today.
That's right, brother. That's right. Man, I'm so enjoying you because I don't meet a lot of other people that do what I do or do what you do, and you're really top line doing some beautiful things that I really be an ambassador for you because I know lots of folks that will like what you do and continue this conversation because I like to unwrap some of these trusts so people can
Yeah,
wrap around it. So we
absolutely.
will return and we will come back again. And you know, I had all my list of questions for you. Hey, I didn't even need to. And you clicked them like, what in the world? You were like, right there,
Yeah.
man.
Well, I've been
Really,
doing this a long time, you know, since
yeah.
2014. It's changed my life. And I'm not in a trust now. The trust is in me. So I'm like a walking billboard. So when
That's
people look
great.
at the Mayweather gym, I say belongs to the trust. The restaurants belong to the trust. This car belongs to the trust. And man,
Right.
it's like wow to be to live this way is very fascinating and fulfilling as I look at my children's children. I hadn't met my children's children yet, you know, my great grandchildren, but I met
Right.
my grandchildren. But man,
Yeah.
those I hadn't met yet. You know, I did a letter in my trust and I went it down for 5 generations, telling them what I expect and what I want. You know, in the
Wow.
trust also, it put me in a position to give my medical power of attorney so somebody can make decisions for me
Yeah.
for my wishes. And
Yeah.
then I have my medical directives in the trust also. So it gave me a tool to organize everything. So
Mhm.
there's no stone unturned for
And
my
then now
successes.
you're really into the warranty deeds. I mean, in California, we use trust transfers and quick claims. So why do you like the warranty
Okay.
deed better than
Well,
I mean,
quick
they all
claim,
work, but they all have
yeah,
different angles on
they
them.
work. But most title companies I found out when you get ready to do a financial transaction with
Mhm.
a property that's owned by a trust, they look at a quick claim deed, don't have warranties saying that you are guaranteeing that the title is going to be,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, clear.
Yeah.
Versus a quick claim deed, so you're going to take it as it is. But a warranty deed, they can
Mhm.
insure that now with the title policy.
Okay.
So it'll
Okay.
save you the trouble of having to go back to upgrade to a warranty deed. Now,
Right.
quick claim deed, will it move a property to someone? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But you want to
Mhm.
move it since you're going to stand behind it and you want it insurable. That's the
Very.
difference.
Okay. Very
Okay.
good.
All right.
Well, you are just a wealth of information, Cedric, and I've really enjoyed having you here today. And we look forward to having you back again and look forward to connecting you when I'm out in Dallas and see what we can cook up there.
All right. Well, let's just do it. And I always tell my clients, I end on this: life will give you what you fight for, it's going to give you what you accept. But until the pain remain the same outweighs the pain of change, you have nothing else to gain and possibly everything to lose. So whatever you do, change. Trust up if you will. All right. Thank you.
All right. God bless you too, brother. See ya. Thank you so much, Cedric, for joining us today and sharing your invaluable insights on the business trust and the charitable faith based trust. Your expertise has shed light on a transformational path for our listeners. And to our Money 91 listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you found this episode insightful, please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a great message, and share it with your fellow entrepreneurs. Remember, when it comes to managing your business and assets, knowledge is your greatest ally. Until next time, stay financially savvy and keep making those smart money moves. Healthy money, happy life. There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to meetwithkrismeller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind.